Welcome to Speed City with John Massengale, Les Kaiser, and Jonathan Green. It's the fastest hour on the radio, Speed City.
Good afternoon, gearheads, and welcome to Speed City's broadcast of the 2021 MotoGP Red Bull Grand Prix of the Americas. We are live at Circuit of the Americas. This is John Massengale. I'm sitting in the booth overlooking the gorgeous Circuit of the Americas with wonderful weather. And alongside me in the booth today is a special guest, Adam Andretti. Adam, welcome to the show, buddy.
Oh, well, thank you, John. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so proud to be a part of Speed City broadcast and to be calling the shots over there and next door to you for the over track PA system here at Circuit of the Americas for these wonderful MotoGP fans that have shown up here in person to watch this event. It's been a spectacular weekend. We struggle with weather Friday morning, but once the morning broke, we haven't had an inkling of an issue out here weather-wise, and the track's been beautiful. Conditions have been great. We had a great qualifying session yesterday. We've had two great races already today, and now the big boys are getting ready to go out, John.
That's right. We got the MotoGP guys about to go out, but our broadcast today is brought to you by Allstott Brewery. They're ranked number 4 in America. They are a fantastic brewery, so check them out at allstottbeer.com. And we also, of course, are going to go out to Jonathan Green and the champion, Kevin Schwantz. They're going to call the race for us here in a few minutes. And we also have a special deal for you today because we have Les Kaiser out on pit lane. And in fact, producer, do we have Les Kaiser on the line? Okay, he's not with us just yet, but we'll have him here in just a few minutes. And he's going to give us the latest and greatest updates right from pit road. But, Adam, this is an amazing thing to have back at Circuit of the Americas. It's been almost 30 months because the last time they were here was April of 2019. Of course, because of COVID, we didn't get them last year and almost didn't get them this year.
And what an honor it is to have him back for the sense that this is the longest that MotoGP circus has traveled since COVID pandemic hit the world. So and put the world on stop for a moment there. So anyway, this is such an honor for not only us as a country, but Austin, Texas, little old Elroy, Texas here, and Circuit of the Americas, because this is laying the groundwork for them to travel more coming up on the 2022 calendar. We're going to help prove to them that this is possible. This is possible. This is viable. And there's so many tracks that we're missing out on, right? We're missing out on Phillip Island. We're missing out on Motegi. I mean, there's these big flyaway races that we've been missing out on MotoGP calendar because of this pandemic. So I am so excited for our listeners at home and whoever's tuning into the show today, because you're going to have the world champion Kevin Schwantz bringing you stuff that none of us could bring you. None of us have hiked our leg over one of these bikes. Could tell you what that's like, and he has, and he's done it to perfection to win a world championship. And then the obviously Jonathan Green. I mean, you can't mistake his energy and what he brings to the table. So these fans, and then Les being able to bring you things from pit road, just like just like MotoGP or Dorna Simon Crafer does for the app. This is going to be a pretty special day for your listeners on Speed City Broadcast. Yeah, the unfiltered thoughts of Kevin Schwantz. You got to stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we won't have to turn the mics down for Schwantz every now and then. He will not be afraid to tell you his opinion. It's fantastic, actually, and an opinionated Texan?
Yeah,
that's strange.
Hard to imagine.
I'm teasing.
And if you don't know, Kevin Schwantz, of course, was integral in the design of Circuit of the Americas. He and his buddy Tavo Hillman laid out this circuit on a napkin back in about 2010, something like that, and it finally came to fruition in 2012. But it sounds like we've got our man Les Kaiser out on pit road. Les Kaiser, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing all right. Excitement is building. You're starting to hear the signals, cue horns, all the different signals going to the teams, letting them know that now's the time to start making our way out to the grid. Some of the supporting team is out there. You'll see some of the hardware that they've got out there. We've got the color guard entering in from the turn one end. Now the excitement's coming around, guys.
Les, that has to be electric out there. I mean, how's the crowd? Is everybody getting excited and the stands full?
Oh, yeah, stands are getting busy. Starting to see the bikes head to grid. Quick little stretch, exciting lap for everybody. Everybody's getting juiced up.
As we can hear that, we can certainly hear the action starting up as we're watching Joan Mir, the world champion, and the rest of the MotoGP field navigate their way down the pit road and do their siding lap and come to grid.
All right, well, let's come back to you here in a few minutes, Les, when we can hear you a little better. Yeah, this I know I can tell Les is excited too. This is the second time he's been on pit road for us. He was on pit road for our Formula One broadcast in Monaco of all places. So he's having some fun.
He's struggling in life, isn't he?
Yeah,
and there's a world championship leader as we're watching our closed circuit TV, Fabio Quartararo, El Diablo, and he's had a magical season. Really struggled all the way up to qualifying yesterday, and was able to throw that thing into pretty decent qualifying run. So this ought to be shaping up to be a great Grand Prix as the 8-time world champion Marc Marquez is making his way down pit road for his siding lap.
Well, Adam, I want to ask you about that because we here in Austin, we're not used to seeing Marc Marquez in this position, not starting at the front of the race.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time that MotoGP's been here that somebody else other than Marc Marquez and a Repsol Honda sat on the pole here. So Pecco Bagnaia, I said it 2 races ago to anyone that would listen that the faucet is open and be careful because this kid is on a roll. He has spent the first 2/3 of this season figuring out how to make the tire last, but not only figuring out how to make the tire last, to figure out how to give it the most at the end. And he's done it to perfection. And now he's got his 1-lap pace down. This is his 3rd pole position in a row on that factory Ducati. And I'm telling you, the faucet's open, and I don't know when it's going to shut.
Well, let's talk about how Marc Marquez ends up here, really, because he's still suffering from an injury that occurred a long time ago.
Yeah, he had that injury in beginning of the 2020 season. So this is his first front row start since that race. So since that Grand Prix, and he suffered a horrible injury. He had a fracture in the humerus bone up there in the upper arm, and obviously the recovery's taken a lot longer than what it was expected. I mean, shoot, we saw him hop on the bike a week later after that horrible crash. He did 1 lap and came in, parked it, and we didn't see him since. We didn't see him until Portimao of this year. So it's great to have the 8-time world champion on the grid. He is the benchmark that every one of these MotoGP riders lines up on the grid to go up against.
Particularly here in Austin.
So I know you could see how much the victory meant to Pecco when he had to beat that man, to get that finish.
Yeah, well, let me just run down your starting grid. You got Francesco Pecco Bagnaia, and then Fabio Quartararo, then Marc Marquez in 3rd, Jorge Martin, and then Taka Nakagami, Johan Zarco, Alex Rins, Joan Mir, Luca Marini, Jack Miller. That rounds up your top 10. And, well, let me ask you this, Adam. I mean, do you think that Marc Marquez can take the win today?
You count Marc Marquez out at your own peril at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah.
But in that same breath, I would like to also point out to the physicality of the bumps here and the way the riders have been talking about that. At one point in the weekend, Fabio Quartararo said, he's our world championship leader. He said, 4 laps and I'm junk. Mm-hmm. So with Marc Marquez and his injury, it'd be very interesting to see how that holds up. And I know that when I've been over hearing the riders talking and doing the media, a lot of the same rhetoric that I'm hearing from each of these riders, it's not about, you're not going to be able to get through this Grand Prix without making a mistake. It's about managing your mistakes because of the bumps being as aggressive as they are, the character of the track being as it is such that it's sending quite a wrench in. And the Valentino Rossi yellow smoke screens have started here, folks. So the swan song for the doctor is in full effect, and he's as he's done on every Grand Prix since he's announced his retirement. He takes his time getting out to the grid. He likes to be the last one out there for that reason, kind of take it all in, and who could blame him? I was fortunate enough. My uncle Mario retired in 1994, and I was 15 years old, and I'll never forget what that experience was like to watch a legend of the sport say goodbye and to the fans, and to watch the fans' reaction to that. His was called the Arrivederci Mario Tour back in 1994, and I know that Valentino Rossi and what that whole experience is going through, and it's on a global scale. My uncle Mario was retiring from American auto racing, and this is on a global scale. So everywhere he goes, in every corner of the earth, he gets this huge ego boost on the impact he's made to not only the sport, but these individual people's lives that go buy his T-shirts, his hats, wave his flags with pride, and love to talk anything and everything Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, I mean, a true icon of the sport, like a record really unachieved by almost anybody in any sport. I mean, it's really incredible with his record. But, hey, I want to go back to the bumps because it has been a bunch of discussion here. And if you don't know the history of Circuit of the Americas, the soil around this place,
it moves a little bit.
When this circuit was announced back in 2011, I was so excited, came out to drive the land, and I had a pretty low car at the time. You couldn't even drive the normal roads out here. So they pulled out something like 15 feet of soil to put new soil under the circuit. That's how much they tried to mitigate what we're experiencing today. But we have a clip that I want to play, speaking of the bumps, from world champion Kevin Schwantz, because we caught up with him yesterday after qualifying, and we discussed the bumps and how all the riders are complaining. And in true Kevin Schwantz style, he had his own take on this. Let's hear from Kevin.
I can't wait to hear it.
What do you think about the surface? Lots of chatter about that. A lot of the riders saying dangerous.
You know, it's the same for everybody. I think it might be getting a little bit on the bumpy side. A few texts of people that have been watching that say it really looks bumpy, but it's the same for everybody. Let's get through the race this weekend, and then we'll get to the track and get them to start making some improvements, because, you know, Formula One's coming next. The car is not quite as affected, but I think they even complain more about bumpy track. So I'm sure Mr. Epstein's going to get an earful.
Kevin would be the first to tell you, riders will complain whatever they're on. You give them a pool table, they complain.
It's too smooth. I don't have any bumps to set me off into the corner.
And you've talked about it before. Everybody knows it's the same for everybody, but everybody knows where the bumps are, and you can work around them.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Motocross guys, the bumps are in different places every lap.
Every lap.
Every lap. Right. You know where that 1 in 10 is. Don't try and turn the thing. Don't try and pinch it tight. Don't try and squeeze the throttle even harder. Going over the bump. If not, it's going to bite you. So I think I made a quote earlier today that a bunch of my friends thought was classic. It's you got to be smarter than the asphalt.
I like it.
Smarter than your average asphalt.
Yeah, it's not the asphalt.
Yeah, there's true Kevin Schwantz and a lot of truth to that. Of course, we want the sport to be safe, but there's going to be character at every single circuit. So we're going to toss out to Les Kaiser out on pit lane. Let's hear from Les.
Hey, that's right. You know, our friends Ducati are heading up front. Paolo Ciabatti's joined us for a moment. How's your day going? What are we going to look for?
Well, actually, it was good. Actually, it's the third consecutive pole position for Pecco Bagnaia. So kind of, I would say, unexpected. And this is going to be a tough race. We know in the first row you see Quartararo and Marquez. I'm sure they will be super competitive. Unfortunately, Jack Miller couldn't qualify as he expected, but I know he has a very strong pace for the race. So let's see. I'm sure that the spectators will have a lot of fun, and let's see what we can do. Obviously, we would need to be ahead of Quartararo to keep our championship hopes open.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paulo. All righty, folks. We'll keep wandering through the grid. Lots of excitement around Marquez and Rossi's bike. I'm going to go try to figure out what got their attention over there.
All right, thanks, Les Kaiser. Yeah, Paolo Ciabatti from the head of the Ducati team, so that's fun, Les. All right, well, we're going to go take our first break, and when we come back, we'll continue our coverage from Circuit of the Americas.
Buying a pre-owned vehicle is a huge decision. Hey, Dave here. That's why I send my listeners to First Texas Honda, Austin's hassle-free Honda dealer. I trust these guys. First Texas Honda has a knowledgeable, commission-free sales staff that wants to help you make the right decision for you and your family. And with over 250 used cars in their inventory, it's easy to do. Honda certified pre-owned vehicles meet Honda's strict qualifications and are backed up by a lengthy comprehensive warranty. First Texas Honda also has service hours on Sunday by appointment only. Plus, you can reserve a complimentary rental car if needed. So, visit First Texas Honda, located off Mopac at the corner of Steck Avenue and Shoal Creek Boulevard. Or check out their pre-owned inventory at firsttexashonda.com. First Texas Honda, where they put you first.
Talk 1370, the right choice. Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back to our MotoGP coverage for the Red Bull Grand Prix of the Americas. It's Circuit of the Americas. Our broadcast today is brought to you by Altstadt Brewery, ranked number 4 top brewery in America. Check them out at allstadtbeer.com.
Well, that sounds good right now.
It does sound good. It's a hot, humid day out here, and I bet you there's a fan or two enjoying a beer or two in the stands.
I'm sure there's a full beer garden up there in Turn 1, so, it's full international flavor here, and that's one of the beautiful things I love about these Grand Prix events, with these World Championship events, is we have countries from every corner of the planet represented in these grandstands today.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to see unity, you want to see the humanity at its best, go to a World Championship event. My friend and I were talking about it on the way in today. He goes, you go to a Raiders game, and you'll see fans fighting with each other. I've been going to races for 40 years. I have never seen anything other but joy and jubilation at a racetrack, and that's what I love about our sport.
You know, it's very true. I've always said it. You go to a car show, and you've got the Porsche guys over here, the Ferrari guys over here, and the Corvette guys, but when they're walking around, they're all communicating the same language, and it's the same way for motorsports. All these people come from around the world. They're all excited to see their guy, Valentino Rossi or Marc Marquez, and they're talking to people that they can barely communicate with because of the language barriers. So,
exactly. They have the common ground of the sport that they love, and as we, that's my favorite part about this is just seeing that, and you watch it. You watch it as I walk in the track, and it's just it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I would encourage anybody, if you ever have the opportunity, and if you live here locally, obviously you got 2 events this year that come your way. So make it out to one of these World Championships events. I promise you won't regret it.
All right, well, that's Adam Andretti you're listening to, and we do have Les Kaiser back out on pit lane. Let's hear from Les Kaiser. What's going on, Les?
Hey, all right. So I made it over to Marc Marquez's bike. They seem to be wrapping up something, primarily focusing on the chain tension, inspecting that. So he may have felt something on the siding lap to check it out, but it looks like they are pretty much done and just going through the usual final checks of the area. Starting to hear the cheering of Valentino Rossi, so I better head back towards his bike.
Okay, Les, thank you. Adam, you're thinking that the chain tension they're working on Marquez's bike is what, from the bumps?
Yeah, well, I as I walked through the paddock and as I observed over the weekend, that was a consistent setting. Every time the riders would bring the bike in, they would check chain tension. The riders would even hop off and check chain tension. Because of the bumps and all the travel that you get through the bumps, your chain goes from being extremely tensioned at ride height to when you're at full droop or full squat, that it can loosen up. So and nothing. There's one thing you don't want to happen on. There's many things you don't want to happen on a 300 horsepower motorcycle, but losing your chain, no, that's not a good one.
Yeah, and if you don't know much about Circuit of the Americas, even if you're a fan of car racing and you haven't been a motorcycle, these bikes go faster down that back straight, I think, than any vehicle. The Formula One cars hit about 200, maybe 201. I've seen bikes this weekend hit 214, maybe even 215. I think that may be even the fastest time, the fastest speed in 2019 was 215 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know what it converts to. If you just hold with me for a second, I'm going to convert it, but I do know what the top speed was.
347 kilometers an hour, right?
349.1 by Johan Zarco.
Okay.
And that converts to?
I think that's 215, if I'm not mistaken. I think I looked at that.
You're so much smarter than me.
I just remember looking it up a minute ago. But
216.
216.
So
okay.
You're on it, John. No, you're on it. So 216 miles an hour on 2 wheels, firing down that horsepower straightaway into turn 12. I mean, these are gladiators. These are modern day gladiators that hike their legs over these machines. These, to me, these are some of the only real men left on this planet that are willing to hike their leg over this 300 horsepower motorcycle.
All right, well, let's go back out to Les Kaiser on pit lane. Les, what's going on?
Hey, I am standing right in front of Valentino Rossi, kneeling down, getting into his mindset. He's already done his stretches, leaning with his head against the throttle of his bike, kneeling next to his bike, total focus into it, occasionally bumping his head. He just stood up, smiled for the crowd, looks around, shaking hands to a few of the dignitaries here, having a good time. And all righty. Hey, we'll back to y'all in the broadcast booth.
Okay, thanks, Les. Adam Andretti. Adam, you are a pretty accomplished race driver yourself, currently racing in the Trans Am Series, and you'll be back here at Circuit of the Americas. But we're talking about Valentino Rossi's routine, what he's going through right now. What about you? Do you have a routine like that?
I really don't have much of one. It's we're not in as a high pressure situation as a world championship Grand Prix rider on one of these machines. But yeah, I mean, every one of us drivers has our ritual. So my ritual is just to be myself. Like I'm always going to keep myself authentic. I'm not going to change or do anything different. I just kind of just go about my business and I don't let anything kind of rattle my cage. I try and make sure I keep my head clear and things of that sort. But Valentino's got a very meticulous.
We might be able to get the. Here we go.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And that was a young woman in the Navy. I don't know her name. I wish I did, but that was
I
wonderful.
caught her first name, not her last name. Her first name was Emily, and that was beautifully sung by that young lady. And the Navy is well represented here. They've had their color guard here tossing these bayonet rifles around, crazy. I've seen some color guard in action, but not like these guys have gone at it. The fans are into it. They're screaming. They're blowing their foghorns. They're busting open their fog and their yellow fogs for Valentino Rossi. Red fog if you're a Marc Marquez fan. And look at the crowd fill in here, John.
Man, the main grandstands have looked completely full, and all the suites on the other side. And here we got the flyover.
This be the Red Bull Air crew here that's doing the flyover, and those are so they do a lot of cool tricks in those Red Bull airplanes.
Yeah, that looks cool. That flying over the countryside here outside of Circuit of the Americas, but they just flew over the circuit. And now we're looking back at the pit lane and the grid here where the bikes and lineup. We got looking at Alex Rins and everybody going through their pre-race routines as we speak.
So look at Alex's helmet. It's a livery. It looks like a football helmet. An American football helmet.
That's
he
right.
Has it painted like such, and then on the back of it, he's got a big 69 in tribute to the Kentucky Kid.
Oh, that's right.
And so Alex Rins is our last winner here at the Circuit of the Americas. He's the one that took the checkered flag here in 2019. He's had a pretty decent weekend. He found some pace there in qualifying and was able to get it towards the pointy end of the grid and P7. He's right behind his teammate of Joan Mir. They're on the same row there. Actually, he's on the third row. Joan is on the second row, so he's sitting right behind him. And Andrea Dovizioso, it's so great to have him back in the paddock.
Yeah.
And basically these last Grand Prix are just to get him back comfortable on a World Championship Grand Prix motorcycle. And then he's signed up for 2022 with the same team, and he will have spec factory Yamaha equipment in 2022.
Wow, look at that stat. 329 starts for Dovizioso.
He's been around. I mean,
it's hard to believe that second most all time. Is that what that stat was? That's incredible.
Behind the doctor.
Yep, and he's got 15 wins under his belt. Of course, he used to race at Ducati, and then before that, I can't even hit. I don't know his whole history.
Well, he was at Yamaha. He was at Honda. He's the one rider in that paddock that I think, and like Valentino Rossi, has basically ridden everything.
Yeah,
inside that paddock has had one marquee or another. I think the only thing that both of them have not hiked their leg over is the factory Suzuki.
And they've got the beautiful blue BMW safety car going around the track right now. We're about 3 minutes from the start of the race. And when the race starts, we're going to go back over to the next booth over to us, which is Jonathan Green and the champ Kevin Schwantz for the play-by-play of today's race. But stay tuned after the race because we are going to have a post-race show Me and Adam Andretti and Les Kaiser. And Jonathan will probably step back in the booth at that point as well.
Yeah, this is why we wake up on Sunday is for race day. And the MotoGP boys, they're getting the focus on. They're looking right now at Marc Marquez, right in those intense eyes of the Spaniard here, the 8-time world champion. Fabio Quartararo, poised. He's got 4 fingers and half a thumb wrapped around the championship trophy for 2021. And then the pole sitter, Pecco Bagnaia, he's on a roll, like I said. He's got 3 straight poles, capitalizing here at Circuit of the Americas, and he's going for 3 on the trot with wins with that Ducati Lenovo factory team. So this is shaping up to be a great one, folks. I am so excited for you all listening on the Speed City broadcast. You are in for a real treat here today. I'm almost sure of it.
I know. It is so fantastic when we have a race here at Circuit of the Americas. We watch them go all over the world, and then it's almost surreal that they come to our hometown here in Austin and do this at this amazing facility. It's been here almost 10 years, and I still have the same electric feeling when they come back.
You can't lose it. It's the sport. The sport does it to you. It's such a wonderful sport. It has so much energy and excitement about it. The hill up going into turn 1 is absolutely loaded. People are throwing caution to the wind of the fire ants in Texas. They're hanging out on the grass. They're laying down. They're drinking their beers and margaritas and Bloody Marys. And Pecco Bagnaia is sipping on his last drink of water before we get to go green here.
Les Kaiser's joined us back in the booth. We'll get you a mic here, Les. How was it out there on the grid, man? That sounded like you were having fun. You got to talk to several folks. Awesome.
Oh, yeah, fantastic time out there. The excitement is really building. I was there right up until the time they pushed us off the grid, and was great. Like I said, everybody is focusing on Valentino Rossi. His pre-race routine was already in store. Nobody was speaking to him anymore, but he was getting in his zone. He's got a hard charge back up towards the front.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're watching the crowd out there. Get yourself settled in there, Les. I'll turn your mic down so you can get settled in. But, yeah, we're watching the crowd and watching the riders get ready. And we were just saying how, it's amazing. Every time it comes back to Circuit of the Americas, we're so excited. I know people in Austin are, too. I had lots of people talking about, getting their tickets and getting ready. And
I love MotoGP's graphics. They've just done this graphic on their coverage that has a bald eagle flying big across the screen, telling us to enjoy the show. And they got Fabio Quartararo, Pecco Bagnaia up on the details. Well, John, here we go, buddy.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can fade out to Jonathan Green. And hold on, we got a message from the producer. Say that again. Oh, yeah, we're going to take a break for a station identification.
KJCE, Bullingwood, Austin, KKMJ, HD2, Austin, the place to turn when you need to know.
Talk 1370.
The right choice.
An Odyssey station.
All right, well, we're going to go straight out to Jonathan Green and Kevin Schwantz for the call of the race, and we'll join you after the race.